Sleep is a different thing on a cruise ship. Nobody tells you that before you book one. The brochures show you the pool deck and the all-you-can-eat seafood and the small lights along the railings at sunset. They do not tell you that you will be lying in a cabin on the 7th deck at 3 in the morning, with the small constant hum of the engine somewhere far below you, with the soft sway of the boat moving in a way no bed at home has ever moved, with the small green light of the smoke detector on the ceiling above your head, and that you will not be able to sleep no matter what you try. I had been on the ship for 6 nights. I was alone. I had booked the cruise 4 months earlier because my mother had died in February, and the woman at the small travel agency near my house had told me, when I had walked in not knowing what I wanted, that a cruise was a thing some people did after a parent. She had told me it was the kind of trip where you did not have to think. The boat would tell you where to be. The boat would feed you. The boat would move you to a new island every 2 days, and you would walk around and look at things, and then the boat would move you again. She had told me I could sit by the railing and look at the water and not have to make a single decision for 9 days. I had said yes. I had paid. I had flown to Miami in early May. I had boarded the ship. I had been doing exactly what the woman at the agency had said. I had not been thinking, except for the small ways my brain had been thinking anyway. In the small, quiet way it had been thinking for the 3 months since my mother. I had not been sleeping. 3 nights into the cruise, I had given up, trying to sleep through the night, and had started a different schedule. I would go down to the small 24-hour Café on the 5th deck at around 3 in the morning, when the rest of the boat had finally gone quiet, and I would get a cup of coffee, and I would sit by the small window that looked out at the dark water, and I would read until the light started to come up. Then I would go back to my cabin and sleep until 11. Then I would do my afternoon. The cafe was almost always empty at that hour. There was a young woman behind the counter on every shift I had seen, and the young woman was almost always different. They rotated. I had not learned any of their names because it had not occurred to me to learn them. I had been a tourist. I had been ordering coffee and saying thank you. That night, the 6th night, the young woman behind the counter was named Mira. I knew because she was wearing a name tag, and because I had finally looked at the name tag, and because Mira had by that point served me coffee 3 different nights, which had made her the person on the boat I had seen most often in the late hours. She made my coffee. She set it on the counter. She did not slide it toward me. She kept her hand on the cup. She said, in a low voice that did not match the small bright lights of the cafe or the small jazz music coming from the ceiling speakers, "Yara, do not look behind you yet. The man who has been sitting at the corner table for the last 40 minutes is the same man who was sitting at the corner table the last 2 nights you came in. He came in tonight 12 minutes before you did. He sat in the same chair. He has been watching the door." I did not look behind me. She slid the coffee across. She said, in a normal voice, the voice of a barista handing a customer her drink, "There you go. Cream is at the station on your left. Then low again. Take your coffee. Go to the cream station. Stand with your back to him. Wait there. Pretend you are doctoring your coffee. Do not turn around. I am going to make a phone call from the back. Stay at the station until I come out. Do you understand?" I picked up the coffee. I felt it shake a little in my hand. I steadied it. I said yes. I walked to the cream station. I stood with my back to the cafe. I picked up the small pitcher of cream. I poured a little into my cup. I did not need cream in my coffee. I drank it black. I poured the cream anyway. I stirred. I stirred for a long time. I could not see the man at the corner table. I could see in the small reflection of the metal cream pitcher, when I held it at the right angle, a tiny smear of light from the cafe behind me. The smear did not show me his face. The smear showed me that the cafe behind me was still there. I stood at the station for what was probably 4 minutes and felt like 14. Mira came back out of the small door behind the counter. She walked over to the cream station like she was wiping it down. She had a small white towel in her hand. She wiped a spot near my elbow that did not need wiping. She said very quietly, "Security is coming. 2 officers. They will be here in maybe 90 seconds. They are going to come in from the door on the far side, behind him. They are going to ask him a few questions. They are going to ask him to come with them. You are going to stay at this station the whole time. You are not going to turn around. After they take him out, I am going to come get you. I am going to take you to my supervisor's office. The supervisor is on his way too. We are going to figure out what is happening. Yara, I am sorry. I should have said something the second night. I told myself I was wrong. I told myself I was making it up. I am not making it up. I should have said something sooner. I am sorry. I said, Mira, you did not have to say anything at all. She said, yes, I did. She wiped the counter one more time. She walked back to the counter. I stood at the cream station. I held my coffee. I did not turn around. I heard the door on the far side of the cafe open. I heard voices, quiet at first. A man's voice asking another man something. The other man, the corner table man, answering. The first voice asking again. The corner table man's chair scraping. The sound of him standing up. More voices. A small pause. Then footsteps. 3 sets of footsteps, walking out of the cafe through the door they had come in. The cafe was quiet. Mira came around the counter. She walked over to me. She touched my elbow. She said, "Okay, he is gone. They have him in the corridor. They are taking him to a holding office on the 3rd deck. You and I are going to walk through the kitchen and up the back stairs to my supervisor's office. He is meeting us there. Are you steady?" I said yes. She said, "Good. Bring your coffee." She led me through a small door behind the counter, into a back hallway, up 2 flights of metal service stairs, into a small carpeted hallway that did not look like the rest of the ship. Crew quarters. We went past 3 doors. We stopped at a 4th. The 4th had a small plaque on it that said the name of a man I did not recognize. Mira knocked. A voice inside said, "Come in." The supervisor was named Dietrich. He was maybe 60. He had a small office with a desk and 2 chairs and a porthole window. He stood up when we came in. He shook my hand. He gestured for me to sit. Mira sat in the other chair. Dietrich sat behind his desk. He said, "Ms. Whitford, I am the head of guest security for this ship. I have been on this vessel for 11 years. I am going to tell you what is happening. I am going to tell you in order. You can stop me at any point and ask questions. Take a drink of your coffee. Take a breath. Are you ready?" I drank some of the coffee. I said yes. He said, "The man your barista identified is named Roderick. We have his last name. I am not going to share it yet because we are still confirming a few things. He boarded this ship in Miami 6 days ago, the same morning you did. He booked his cabin 2 days before sailing. He paid in full at booking. He has been traveling alone. His cabin is on the 9th deck, 4 cabins down from the small staircase that connects to the 7th deck stairwell, which is the stairwell 3 doors from your cabin." I sat in the chair. He said, "He has been on this ship every Caribbean route for the last 7 months. He has booked a different cabin each time. He has used a different name each time. He has used the same passport each time, which has been a real passport, and which is why he has cleared the routine security checks. The names he books under are aliases that he has been able to register with the cruise line through a small administrative loophole. The loophole was closed 2 weeks ago, after another cruise line in our parent company flagged the pattern. He has booked, by our records, 6 different cruises in the last 7 months. Each cruise has been a different woman." I gripped the coffee cup. He said, "I am sorry, I am going to keep going. The previous 5 women that we know of were all between 38 and 46, traveled alone, booked one of the lower-priced solo cabins, and had a small online presence that he was able to use to identify them as targets. We do not know yet how he identified you. We are looking." Each of the previous 5 women reported, after their cruise, some version of the same experience. A man watching them in the small corners of the ship, a man on the same shore excursion, a man knocking on a wrong door late at night. In 2 of the 5 cases, the women reported items missing from their cabins. In one case, a woman reported that the lock on her cabin door appeared to have been tampered with. None of the women in any of the 5 cases reported direct contact. He did not approach them. He watched them. He, by every available indication, was building something. We do not know what. We do not, in any of the 5 cases, have a clear answer about what he was planning to do. He paused. He said, 2 days ago, we received a flag from corporate that he had booked this current cruise. The flag came in late. The flag came in because of the loophole I mentioned. The flag came in attached to a list of solo female travelers on this voyage who matched his target profile. There were 3 names on the list. You were one of them. We had not, before tonight, identified which of the 3 was the woman he was specifically focused on. Mira identified you tonight. Mira identified you because she had served all 3 of you at her cafe over the previous 5 nights, and she had noticed, over those 5 nights, which one he was watching. Mira told her shift supervisor on the 3rd night. The shift supervisor told me. I started pulling cabin records and movement records and dining records. The records confirmed Mira's observation. By yesterday afternoon, I knew it was you. I had been planning to approach you at breakfast tomorrow morning with a member of our wellness team in a private dining room to explain the situation and to offer you the option of disembarking at our next port with full reimbursement and travel home. Mira's read on the cafe tonight changed the timeline. She made the call when she saw him sit down and watch the door for the 2nd time in 3 nights. She made the right call. I am, in my own way, grateful she did, because if we had waited until morning, I do not know what tonight would have looked like. I sat in the chair. I said, Dietrich. Is he getting off the ship at the next port? Dietrich said, he is getting off the ship now. We have a small protocol for this. We do not have a brig, but we have a holding office that has been built for exactly this purpose. He is currently in that office with 2 officers. At dawn, when we reach the next port, which is about 4 hours from now, he will be transferred to the local maritime authorities. Maritime authorities will hand him to U.S. federal officials because the pattern of his behavior crosses jurisdictions and falls under federal interest. He is, by tomorrow afternoon, going to be in federal custody. He is not, in any meaningful way, coming back near you. He paused. He said, I am going to ask you to do one thing tonight. I am going to ask you to allow Mira to walk you back to your cabin. I am going to ask you, when you get there, to pack a small bag of the things you most need. I am going to upgrade you to a different cabin on a different deck, in a part of the ship he has not had access to, for the remaining 3 nights of the cruise. The new cabin is a suite. There is no additional cost. You can also, if you prefer, disembark with him tomorrow morning. We will fly you home from the port at our expense. You do not have to decide right now. Take the night. I am going to leave the choice to you. I sat there. I said, Dietrich, thank you. I'm going to take the night to decide. Thank you. He stood up. He shook my hand. He told Mira she could take the rest of her shift off if she wanted. Mira said she would walk me back to my cabin and then come back to finish her shift. We left the office. Mira walked me down 2 decks and through a small hallway and to the door of my cabin on the 7th deck. She stood at the door while I unlocked it. She came in. She walked through the small cabin. She checked the small bathroom. She checked the small closet. She checked under the bed. She did all of this without being theatrical about it. She did it the way a person checks a space for somebody who needs the space checked. She said, cabin is clear, lock the door behind me, put the secondary latch on. Do not open it for anyone except me and Dietrich. We will both call your cabin phone before we come up. Said Mira, sit down for a minute. She looked at me. She said, I have a shift to finish. I said, sit for 2 minutes, please. She sat in the small chair by the desk. I sat on the edge of the bed. I said, how did you notice? She was quiet. She said, I noticed because I have been working on cruise ships for 4 years. I have served thousands of single women. I have learned what a single woman on a cruise looks like in her face. The face has a specific quietness. Most of you are tired, some of you are sad, a few of you are angry. All of you, when you sit down at the cafe at 3 in the morning, look like you have decided to be alone. The face is fine. The face is not a face that needs anything from me other than coffee. You had that face. You have had it all 6 nights. The face has been a face that just wanted to be left alone with a book. She paused. The man at the corner table did not have the face of a single man on a cruise. The face of a single man on a cruise is different. He looks for eye contact. He talks to the bartender. He scrolls his phone with the energy of a person who is hoping the scrolling will lead to something. The man at the corner table did none of those things. He looked at the door, only the door. He did not have a phone out. He did not have a book. He did not order anything but a tea, the same tea, every night that he never drank. He sat for 40 minutes each time. He left 10 minutes after you left. I noticed on the 2nd night. I started watching from the 3rd. By the 4th, I knew. She looked at her hands. She said, I told my supervisor on the 3rd night. I said the words, I think he is watching her. I did not, even when I said it, fully believe myself. I told myself I was making it up. I told myself I was being dramatic. I have told myself this kind of thing before. Most of the time when I have told myself this kind of thing, I have been wrong. The cost of being wrong is that I am the barista who flagged a man for sitting alone in a cafe. The cost of being right, if I do not say it, is the woman who is sitting in front of me right now in this cabin. I learned around year 2 of this job that the cost of being right and not saying it is not a cost I am willing to pay anymore. I would rather be the barista who flags a man for nothing once a year for the rest of my career than the barista who watched something happen and said nothing. She stood up. She said, I have to go. My shift ends at 7. If you want to come back to the cafe before then, I will be there. If you want to sleep, sleep. If you do not want to do either, my supervisor's number is on the small card I am going to leave on your nightstand. You can call him anytime. He sleeps in his office. He has been sleeping in his office since the corporate flag came in 2 days ago. He told me when I asked that he was not going to sleep in his own quarters until we had figured this out. He has not slept in his own quarters in 2 nights. He is not going to sleep tonight either. He is, in his own way, watching over this whole ship until the 4 hours are up and they take Roderick off in the morning. She left. I locked the door. I put on the secondary latch. I sat on the edge of the bed. I want to skip ahead to the part you need. I did not disembark in the morning. I stayed on the ship. I moved to the new cabin. The new cabin was a small suite with a window that did not open. I spent the last 3 days of the cruise, mostly in the suite, mostly reading, mostly eating room service. The staff brought up to me with a small extra slice of cake on every tray that nobody had charged me for. Roderick was, as Dietrich had said, transferred to maritime authorities at dawn. He was, by lunchtime, in federal custody. The investigation that came out of his arrest produced, over the next 4 months, charges against him for things I am not going to detail. The previous 5 women were contacted. All 5 of them, with their consent, became part of the case. The case produced a plea. Roderick is in. He will be in for the rest of his productive life. The cruise line's administrative loophole was permanently closed, and a new screening process was put in place that I am told has, in its first year, flagged 11 similar patterns across the industry. I do not know how many of those 11 have led to anything. I am going to assume some of them have. The previous 5 women and I have a small group chat. The chat has 6 women in it now, counting me. We do not, mostly, talk about Roderick. We talk about the small things you talk about when you are 6 women who survived the same man. We send each other pictures of dogs. We send each other recipes. We send each other small recommendations of books. One of the women, whose name is Hannah, is a librarian in Minnesota. She has been the keeper of the book recommendations. Another of the women, whose name is Cinta, is a chef. She has been the keeper of the recipes. We are, in our way, a small, careful group of women who have all decided that the way we are going to carry what happened is to be in each other's lives a little, in the small, steady way that does not, exactly, talk about what happened, but that exists because of what happened. Mira and I have stayed in touch. She finished her cruise contract 3 months after my voyage. She left the cruise industry. She moved to Portland. She got a job at a coffee shop on land, which she has been at for the last 6 months. The coffee shop is a place near a university. She is taking community college classes at night. She wants to be a social worker. She told me, in a phone call about 4 months ago, that the night in the cafe had been the night she had decided. She had been thinking about it for a year. The night in the cafe had been the night she had stopped thinking and had started doing. I have visited her in Portland twice. We are friends now. We are not exactly a normal kind of friend. We are a kind of friend that does not have a clean category. She is 26, I am 43. We do not in any obvious way look like friends. We are friends anyway. I want to tell you what I have done with the experience, because the doing has been the thing I have been working on for the last 9 months, and the doing is, in its small way, the only thing I have figured out. I have started, in my own daily life, to be the person who notices the wrong face in the room. I am not on a cruise ship. I do not have a job that puts me in front of strangers all day. I work from home as a grant writer for a small nonprofit. The people I see, on any given day, are the people at the coffee shop near my house, the woman at the dry cleaner, the man at the corner store, the small handful of neighbors I have learned to greet by name. The room I am in, mostly, is small. The chances of me ever noticing the wrong face in the room are statistically very low. But I have been practicing anyway. The practicing is the part I have been doing. What practicing looks like for me is that I have started paying attention to the faces around me in a different way than I used to. I used to be the woman at the coffee shop with the book. I used to be the face that did not look at anybody. I have stopped doing that. I look up now. I look around. I see who's in the room. I notice, in a small, careful way, what people are doing with their faces. Most of the time, they are doing nothing. Most of the time, the room is exactly what it looks like. Once in a while, I see a face that does not match the room. I do not mostly do anything about it. I do not mostly have the standing to do anything about it, but I notice it. I file it. I let the noticing happen. I have decided that the noticing is its own work. The noticing is what I owe Mira. The noticing is what I owe the 5 women in the chat. The noticing is what I owe the woman I would have been if Mira had not been at the cafe on the 6th night. The noticing is not by itself going to save anybody. I know that. The noticing is the small foundation that once in a great while, in the worst possible case, becomes the saying out loud, that becomes the call, that becomes the security officers in the corridor, that becomes the federal custody at the port. I have decided to be the person who is doing the small foundation work, even when nothing comes of it. That is the only thing I have to tell you. You do not probably work on a cruise ship. You probably do not have anything like Mira's job. You probably will not, in your lifetime, be in a position to see the wrong face in the room at the moment when the noticing matters. The statistics are with you, but the noticing is its own thing. The noticing is a habit. The habit in your small ordinary life will mostly produce nothing. The habit will, once in a great while, Produce the moment when somebody you do not yet know is going to be sitting at the cream station with their back to the room, and you will be the one who has been quietly noticing the wrong face, and the noticing will be the thing. Most of us will not be Mira. Some of us every once in a while will be. The way to be ready, in the case where you turn out to be, is to be doing the small daily practice in the cases where you are not. That is the entire thing. The boat is in the Caribbean somewhere right now. There is another cruise running this same route. There is a woman in a cafe at 3 in the morning, on her 6th night out, reading a book, drinking coffee with cream she does not need, by a small window that looks out at dark water. I do not know her name. I do not need to. Somebody is watching her counter, I hope. On her behalf that her Mira is on shift. I hope on her behalf that her Mira looks up. Look up. That is the work. That is the work I have for you. Look up.